My dear students, welcome back to the lectures of computer organization. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about functional units of computer. So we have basically 5 functional units. We will see the diagram related to the functional units. So these are the functional units of a computer. One is input unit, output unit, memory unit, arithmetic and logic unit. Last one is control unit. So totally there are 5 functional units, and see these two units, input and output units, comes under the category of IO unit, arithmetic and logic unit, control unit. Both ALU and control unit will comes under the category of processor. So now memory unit is a separate unit here. So totally we have 5 functional units. Then I would like to tell small thing here. When I use the term processor anywhere, please remember processor is a combination of 2 units. It is a combination of ALU, arithmetic and logic unit, as well as control unit. Processor is a combination of ALU as well as control unit. And we all know input output unit. In input output unit, we have both input unit and output unit. So totally we have 5 functional units. We will look into the details of each and every one very clearly. And input unit, first we will discuss about input unit. As we all know, we used to give input to the computer through some input devices like keyboard or mouse. So after giving the input, computer will takes that input, it will process it, finally it produces output to the user. So what kind of input we are giving and through which devices we are giving the input, that is very important thing here. So usually we used to give input in the form of high level language. So we usually give, suppose if I would want to give any input in the form of characters or some functional keys or anything, so we usually give in the form of high level language. Since computer cannot understand that high level language, computer definitely has to convert that high level language into low level language. But whatever the high level language input we are giving, that is simply fed to a computer through the input devices. After that it will convert that into zeros and ones, which is a computer understandable language. So the important thing here is we usually give input to the computer will accept the input, process it, finally it gives or it produces output to the user. So what is the thing here? The source program or high level language program or coded information is fed to a computer through input devices. Keyboard is the most common type. So we usually give input through the input devices like a keyboard or mouse. After that, we will see here what is the actual process and how the input will move through the these devices, input devices. So whenever a key is pressed, for giving the input, one corresponding word or number is translated into its equivalent binary code over a cable and fed either into memory or processor. Definitely whatever the language we are giving here, whatever the input we are giving in the form of high level language, so that corresponding word or number must be translated into its equivalent binary code, then only it will be fed either into the memory or processor. As I told you, definitely whatever the input we are giving, that must be converted into binary form. Why? Because computer can understand only the binary language, which is called as zeros and ones. After that we will see what are the example or what are the input devices, some of the input devices we are having. Say mouse, scanner, please remember scanner is an input device. Most of the people will confuse that scanner takes this component of scanner or the device of scanner will takes under the category of output unit. So please consider or please remember that scanner is an output device. It is an scanner is an input device, not output device. Scanner is not output device, scanner is an input device. After that we have joysticks which we actually use in playing video games. Trackballs in mouse we can see the trackballs. In mouse along with the cursor we'll be having a ball called the trackball, and mouse we all know that. So these are the input devices. Trackball is different, mouse is different, but trackball looks like um, the ball which is present on the mouse like that. So these are the some of the input devices we have. We all know that there are several input devices. We have given only some examples here. So after that we will see what is a memory unit. We all know memory unit is one of the important unit, and why basically it is required is it will store data which is given by the user, and whenever user want to access that particular data, user can access. So memory unit is basically of two types. There are primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory and secondary memory. So what is this primary memory? Primary memory, it is nothing but it is a main memory. Primary memory is nothing but a main memory, and it is basically we usually store programs into the main memory whenever a program is accessed or whenever a program is loaded. So generally what happens is primary memory, if I take primary memory, it is also called as random access memory. Primary memory is also called as random access memory. Then when do we use this primary memory? When do we use this random access memory means? So suppose consider I have an application called Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome browser. I am going to open that application on the desktop. I am going to open that application which is on the desktop. Suppose if I open that browser, immediately that browser application which has already stored in the secondary memory, that will come and reside in the primary memory. So from this what we must understand, every current running application, whatever the current running application, that current running application must come and reside in the primary memory. So hope you all understood. So whatever the program you are going to open, or whatever the program you currently access presently in the computer, that program must and should reside in the primary memory. So what happens here, if a program is stored in the primary memory, so we can understand that that particular program is currently accessing. And whatever the programs you closed or whatever the programs you have not accessed, suppose consider I am going to store some movie into my computer. So where that movie will go and store in my computer, definitely that computer will go and store in the secondary memory, which is called as permanent storage. That we will understand later. First we will clearly understand what is primary memory. Primary memory means what? It is a random access memory. Here the programs will usually store in this memory while they are being executed. So during execution, definitely programs must come and reside in the primary memory. I also told you the example. Please consider that example for understanding what is a primary memory. After that we will see generally here we have mentioned some points regarding semiconductor storage cells. Why? Because we usually store information in the memory devices, and those memory devices consist of some semiconductor storage cells. So because of those semiconductor storage cells, we are able to store some information in the form of bits. Still we are able to store some information in the form of bits because of semiconductor storage cells. So, and these group of bits are combined together called as word. We can call that as a word if some group of bits are combined together or collectively together. And after that we will understand what is secondary memory. Secondary memory is a permanent storage memory. Here all the programs and data will be stored permanently, and whenever we access that program, which is stored in the secondary memory, that will come and store in the primary memory. That we need to understand very clearly. So this is secondary memory. Here the data will be stored permanently. Large amounts of data and programs will be stored permanently, and whatever the program you access from the secondary memory, that will come and store in the primary memory. So that is about the secondary memory. We have some example secondary devices, secondary storage devices like magnetic disks, tapes, optical disks, CDs, rewritable CDs, etc. Some of the disks are there. Magnetic disks, tapes, optical disks. Okay, some of the devices are there. So anyhow, this is about primary memory and secondary memory. What is our next type of, what is the next category we have? What is the next functional unit? Arithmetic and logical unit. This is simply called as, in a short way it is called as ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. It has some operations like addition, subtraction, division and multiplication. Most of the computer operations are executed in ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. What are the operations that a computer can perform here? Addition operation, subtraction, division and multiplication. So addition operation, subtraction, division and multiplication, all the basic operations will be performed by this unit. Suppose if I want to perform an addition operation, definitely that will be performed by ALU, arithmetic and logic unit. So whatever the operations here we have specified, either it is an addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all these operations must be performed by arithmetic and logic unit. So if there is no ALU, we cannot perform these arithmetic operations. That is the main objective of this ALU. So how the ALU will performs, how the ALU will takes two operands and how it adds or how it performs subtraction operation, that we will understand in the next concept, which is basic operational concepts. We will see there how ALU is going to perform the instruction execution. But generally we have mentioned one point here. So first of all, initially what happens, whatever the operands that ALU wants to perform, that operands are brought into ALU from the memory. So initially we have instructions or data which are stored in the memory. So for executing those instructions, that instructions must be brought into the ALU. Generally what happens, whatever the instructions that you are going to execute currently, that we are currently executing, those instructions must come and reside in random access memory. So after accessing into random access memory, if there are any arithmetic operations, those arithmetic operations will be performed by ALU. So definitely what must happen? So before an instruction or an arithmetic operation to be performed, that must be brought from the memory into ALU, and it will store them in the registers. In ALU we have the components called registers, which are temporary storage devices. So generally, just before I told you, ALU means arithmetic and logical unit. It is a combination of processor. It is a combination of processor is a combination of ALU and control unit. So processor means we have two units, ALU and control unit. And also remember that along with ALU and control unit, we will also have registers. Along with ALU and control unit, we will also have registers in the processor. So with the help of these registers are useful for storing data temporarily while performing arithmetic operations. While performing any arithmetic operations, we will store data temporarily in these registers. That is why ALU is used. Suppose if I want to perform an addition operation, 2 plus 3, between 2 and 3, I am going to add 2 and 3. So what happens, I must store 2 value, the value of 2 in some register, value of 3 in another register. I have to add both the values in the registers, and finally I have to store the result in another register. So for that purpose we are using a temporary storage devices called registers. So while performing arithmetic operations, registers are used as a temporary storage devices. Please remember that register is a temporary storage device while performing arithmetic operations. Arithmetic operations means while evaluating any addition or subtraction, division, multiplication operations. So So this is about arithmetic and logic unit, and the next thing is output unit. Output unit. We came to output unit now. Generally, what happens? Whatever the processor results by the processor. Generally, we used to give input through the key input devices like keyboard and mouse. That will be sent to the processor. Processor will process it. Finally, the processor results will be sent to the outside world, which is nothing but monitor, which is nothing but a monitor. So we usually see the results in the monitor, right? It displays results in the monitor. So that is what the output unit will do, and this is nothing but a counterpart of input unit. We will give the input through some devices and we will get output through the monitor. That is the thing. The basic function is to send the processor results to the outside world. It will displace the results in the, it will displace, output unit will displace the results in the monitor. Some of the example output devices we have like printer, speakers and monitor, etc. These are some of the output devices we are having. So control unit, next unit is control unit. What is this control unit? It is like a nerve center which sends signals, control signals to the other units. Generally, we will simply remember that control unit will send control signals to the other units. Control unit sends signals to the other units, and for what purpose it is sending signals, we will understand now. For what purpose it is sending the signals, we will understand. See, generally what happens is, suppose if a processor wants to perform, processor wants to process any input given by the user, generally what happens is some signals are required for the processor. Some signals are required for the processor, either to process the input, okay. Control, definitely for all the units, control unit will send signals to the input unit, control unit will send signals to the processor. Similarly, it will also send signals to the memory unit as well as output unit. For all the units, it will send control signals. Based on those control signals, all those units will perform their operations. So if control unit will not say yes, input unit will not take the input, and input unit will not send that input to the processor. If control unit does not says yes to the processor, processor will not process that input. Similarly, if control unit does not say yes to the memory unit, even memory unit cannot store the information in the memory, as well as output unit will also do the same thing. Output unit will not displace any output to the monitor, will not displace any output in the monitor screen until the control unit says yes. So definitely control unit must pass a signal, and it has to inform all the units that you are going to process this task now, please proceed, like that. So definitely control unit will do this particular thing. That is why we usually say control unit will send timing signals for the transfer of data between input unit, processor, memory and output unit that are generated by the control unit. All these signals must be generated by the control unit, and all these signals must be sent to all the various units. Then only those functional units will perform their operations. So it is like a nerve center. It is like a nerve center. Control unit is like a nerve center. So definitely all the operations must be depending on the control unit to perform. So this is about control unit. This is what I would like to tell you regarding functional units. Anyhow, we will continue the next topic in the next video lecture. Thank you.